So about Toji, despite having so little screen time, he is one of the most popular characters in Jujutsu Kaisen. He hasn't ever been directly mentioned in the anime either, but once you read the manga and start to learn what he is known for, it makes sense. He is the one and only person we have met so far to beat Gojo. Not only that, but he went to fight Geto straight afterwards, who was Gojo's equal at the time. Both were special grade sorcerers and extremely powerful, so for Toji to come out of nowhere and almost fight both of them was pretty unexpected. It is clear that Toji is a strong guy, but is he actually as strong as people make him out to be? Because from the way people describe him, he's the top 3 strongest characters in most people's eyes. But to be honest, I'll have to disagree with that. So that's what we will be discussing today, about Toji's strength and how strong he really is as a Jujutsu sorcerer. Before that though, like and subscribe for future content. For those who are not aware, Toji is Megumi's dad. The only time he was mentioned was in a flashback of Gojo first meeting Megumi, but Toji was never mentioned by his name. He was only talked about as being his dad and nothing else. So if you are an anime only, the only thing you probably know about him is that he's his dad. He sold Megumi to the Zenin clan and hunted Jujutsu sorcerers as a living. He was known to be strong in the Jujutsu world, but he also happened to be a non-sorcerer, basically Maki with how she can interact with curses without cursed tools. And with how much of a big shot the Zenin clan is, Toji was looked down a lot growing up. He had zero curse technique potential and was alienated because of that. Despite having no curse technique though, he's still able to hold his own very well. He was very physically gifted, and when he got a curse weapon in his hand, he was pretty much unstoppable. As of currently, we only know a few fights that Toji had. His fight with Gojo, his fight with Geto right after, fighting Gojo for a second time, and Toji fighting Dagon. Right now, at least I'm pretty sure, Toji is the peak of physical capability of any Jujutsu sorcerer. Maki just got a power up and stuff, and closely resembles Toji, but she probably isn't up to his level, at least yet. But yeah, with all his fights being against very high level enemies, he only lost once. So I get why people seem to think Toji is this unstoppable force, and trust me, he mostly is. There is only a very small amount of characters that I think can take him, but I think people overestimate Toji a little without taking context into consideration. The fight people first like to point towards is Toji's first fight with Gojo, and in that fight it was pretty one-sided in Toji's favor. It probably only lasted like a minute in real time, and Toji ended up killing Gojo basically. Well, he almost did, but Gojo ended up surviving by using a reverse technique. Still though, Toji wrapped that fight up pretty quickly, and Gojo ended up being overwhelmed. Also, for anyone that does not know, this takes place about 10 years from the present storyline. Gojo was the second year, I believe, when this was all going down. Still though, he was insanely strong. The only thing Gojo had no full control of at that point was his infinity technique, and that is something that people seem to not realize. The tremendous amount of prep time before the fight. Before Toji even thought about approaching Gojo, the first thing he was thinking was about how to wear him down. He used the money he got paid to put a bounty on Gojo's head, and as several Jujutsu sorcerers threw themselves at Gojo, they weren't really a match for Gojo, but having them constantly thrown at him put him on edge, and because of that he had kept this technique on the entire time to stay alert. It wasn't until about 3 days later that he disengaged the technique. He couldn't make his curse energy infinite like he can now, so he couldn't have it on 24/7. Toji was able to come to this conclusion with how much research he put into it. He extensively researched Gojo and the 6 Eyes power, so that one-on-one wasn't even really a fair fight from the start. It was a worn out Gojo who had finally let his guard down after 3 days versus the Toji in mid condition. If Gojo was in peak condition and could use his infinity in that fight, he would have most likely won from the looks of it, because even without being able to use the technique constantly like he can now, he was still a major threat. So from the looks of it, if they were to fight one-on-one at full strength, Toji would have probably lost, and he did end up losing in their second fight. But losing to Gojo isn't really that bad for a character. It is obvious that Gojo is the peak of Jujutsu sorcery, so to be weaker than Gojo isn't really saying much. A more modern character, people try to compare Toji to a Jogo. Jogo is what people use a lot to scale a character's strength a lot, it seems like. Jogo is a powerful spirit, and also happens to fight both Gojo and Sukuna, which is when I think people are really overselling Toji's strength. I think people underestimate Jogo because of how much he's been wiped by both Gojo and Sukuna, but he is honestly the real third strongest character that we know right now. 1 and 2 are obviously Gojo and Sukuna. I can't say in what order for sure, but they are definitely taking the top 2 spots. There is still a big gap between Jogo and those two, but he is still extremely strong. When Jogo was fighting Maki and a group, he was speed blitzing them. Like there was absolutely no way they were beating him. The main expansion aside, I think Jogo might even rival Toji in his speed, and that is really Toji's main selling point. He uses his speed to catch people off guard and take them out. So honestly, 9 times out of 10, Toji is losing to Jogo. Toji is probably like a top 10 character, giving him the third third spot is a little more than generous. He is a cool character, but that doesn't change how strong he is. With how people try to rank him using Jujutsu rankings, I would say he's a low special grade maybe, low to middle special grade. He's definitely not weak, but not the strongest of strong characters either. But yeah, that is pretty much my thoughts on Toji. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe for future content. Peace.